it's supposed to feel.
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Starbucks, powered by Chris Gates Fitness. I'm your host, of course, Anthony DiNardo. With me, as he usually seems to be, Jim Rosati. What's up, Jim?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Usually I start this off saying, how was your weekend? For all you listeners out there, most of you, I'm sure, are probably Pitt fans. I will spare that. So I'm going to move past that, Jim. I don't care how your weekend was. Most people here probably don't either. They don't want to hear it. So let's just move forward. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Wow, you're taking the higher road here.
Why would I brag? I mean, it's a game that we were supposed to win and we won. So I mean, it's how the game goes.
I guess so. It's how the game goes. Well, there it is. Jim Rosati.
I'm not going to brag about beating an inferior opponent like the Pitt Panthers.
Let's move on. But no, seriously. It is a brisk Monday for me, which means I'm sure it's probably pretty brisk for you as well.
It's actually really warm. Like it was cold Friday and Saturday, and yesterday it started warming up. It's 52 degrees here right now. That's 7 a.m.
It is 52 degrees today as well right now.
Look at that. Look at that.
Look at us. We're synced up. Just like we're about to be in a couple weeks in Dallas.
Kentucky, the new Florida.
The new Florida. Uh-oh. Oh, boy.
Uh-oh. Yeah. We don't need another Florida.
Right. But yeah, no, I was saying like we're actually a few weeks away from the winter meetings now, which means like things are starting to get serious. Things are starting to get serious this off season. The playoffs are done. All the accolades are over with. The non-tender deadline has passed. I mean, it's legit 2025 season now. Juan Soto is done meeting with teams as far as like just talking. It's now negotiation time. Things are getting serious, Jim.
Yeah, I think I saw yesterday that teams will start officially making offers this week to Juan Soto. So, yeah, what do you think the Pirates offer to Juan Soto is going to be?
Nothing.
Realistically though, do you think they even like send an offer in, even if it's just a laughable offer, or do you think they're not even? Do they not even try? I'm not even really sure how that works. Like, if you're the Pirates, do you just not even call?
Right. Because like you said, like, I mean, teams are flying out to Cali to meet with him and have all these conversations, right? Like the Pirates just don't even entertain it. I think they just don't entertain it. I mean, there's no way that like Ben Cherington would love to have Juan Soto on his team. Clearly. All 30 GMs would want Juan Soto on their team. So it's not a matter of, I mean, do we want Juan Soto? No, like he's overrated. He's not good at it. Like they want him. They just know it's not going to happen, right? It doesn't matter what they do. So why entertain it? Why be embarrassed? Why say here's a 5-year, $100 million contract?
I would still, I don't know. This is me though. Like if I'm operating the Pirates, I'm still like kicking the tires at least.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what are you looking for? All right, how about this? We'll try this. Now, I don't know if the Pirates even have a conversation though, honestly. And it's probably a waste of time if they do. Because they're not doing it.
Right.
Nor would he come here.
Right. I don't
they're probably
like
not
you're
doing
saying
anything.
that is kind of interesting. Like, is there something the Pirates could bring to the table? Like, is there something like, hey, Juan, check this out?
I think the reason though why you have to at least like you have to at least ask, because what if you didn't know, but hey, what if Juan Soto's just like a huge Roberto Clemente fan? He's always wanted to wear the jersey that Roberto Clemente wore, and he would take a little bit of a discount to do that. Now, I don't think that's the case, but yeah, like here we go, right here. Yeah, like what if? I think you have to at least kick the tires out of
So
him.
so like I get that, and I feel like there's just like maybe not a zero conversation happen, but it's probably like, hey, Scott, any chance? And then Scott just laughs, and he's like, no.
That could very well be the conversation.
You
Be
say,
like,
okay,
hey, Scott Boris, is
right.
there any chance in hell this happens? And he just goes, LOL, LMFAO,
Right.
and then just hangs up. That could be the
Right.
conversation. I mean, who knows?
Right. That's probably it. You're probably like, is there even energy? Like that, then he would be like, well, you know what? I don't want to tell you guys just no. Bob, like it's probably not gonna happen, but check this out. He grew up idolizing Roberto Clemente. He's wanted to play right field. So if you can put something out on there, there's a possibility. And then they say, okay, well, we can't, but but it was nice asking.
Well, I think I mean, if that's the case, you end
Yeah.
up saying, all right, well, like let's put together an offer that's at least not embarrassing,
Mhm.
but something that probably isn't getting picked up. And if it does, it'll end up working out for both sides. I
Right.
don't know. I mean, I could see the Pirates throwing out like a 10-year, $400 million offer, something like that. I don't actually, I don't know.
Hold
I don't
on.
think,
Hold
I
on.
don't
Hold on.
know. It's
You're
probably,
claiming their
yeah,
jump is going
hold
from
on.
Francisco Liriano on what, 37.5 million to a
But,
$400 million deal.
but here's the deal. You send that offer out and,
Knowing he's going to
he
decline it.
doesn't take it. Or, yeah, I mean, here's another one. Vinios Itinta in the comments. Like, maybe, yeah, what if you do like a 4-year? Now, 4 years, 200 is maybe too high, but what about like a 4-year, $120 million deal? Hey, we're going to throw out a $30 million a year deal for 4 years. You can hit free agency at age 30, and you can be a Pirate for a little bit
Yeah.
and still get paid. You can still rack up a big payday.
And then you get to be on the team that Roberto was and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. So maybe there's technically a conversation.
8 minutes in, we've
For
talked about
15.
Juan Soto.
Yeah. That tells you where we're at in
We
the
may as
offseason.
well have just talked about our dreams last night. Like, just let's dissect the dreams that we had. What do these
So the
mean?
dream I had was Juan Soto was a Pirate. But anyways, so yeah. So BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From their earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA and college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA, head to BetOnline today to get on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. So I put in a big wager for Juan Soto to be a Pittsburgh Pirate. That was my dream. And I won, and then I bought the Pittsburgh Pirates.
There's probably betting odds out there for where Juan Soto lands. I wonder what the Pirates' odds are.
Very low. But see, that's just the whole gig. I'm telling
Yeah.
Juan Soto I'm going to give him a 13-year, $900 million contract. So that way he guarantees he gets it. And then I buy the Pirates because I won billions and billions of dollars.
There you go.
Yep. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Let's do it.
So Friday was the non-tender deadline. a lot of, I guess, like what we assumed was going to happen, right? We assumed that Bryan De La Cruz wasn't going to get tendered a contract. We assumed Connor Joe wasn't going to get a contract, and that was true. Hunter Stratton also did not, though reported sounds like they want to work out a minor league deal to bring him back. So it seems like he'll still be within the system. Seemed like a good deadline to me. David Bednar tendered a contract.
Yeah. I think it was pretty much exactly what I expected. I wasn't sure on Stratton, but the fact that he's going to be out pretty much the whole season makes sense. You know, you're not going to there's really no reason to bring him back on a major league deal. It does sound like they're going to try to bring him back on a minor league deal. Essentially what they did last year. They did the same thing last year with him where they took him off the 40-man, they signed him to a minor league deal, invited him to spring training, and he made the team. And had a pretty good season until that injury. So hopefully they're able to work something out with him. I know the last time they tried doing something like this with Nick Birdie, if you remember, they same thing. Like Birdie was going to be hurt. They non-tendered him. They were going to try to sign him to a minor league deal, and instead he signed a minor league deal with another team. So they lost out on him. So now that Stratton is a free agent, you do have to compete with 29 other ball clubs who are probably all very interested in bringing Stratton on with a minor league deal too. So there is that. But yeah, Connor Joe non-tendered, Bryan De La Cruz non-tendered. I think a lot of us were worried that they would tender Bryan De La Cruz. I think that was the big thing because like is Ben Cherington going to be able to admit that he made this mistake in acquiring this guy? And I think there's also there's a chance here that this is a mistake, right? I mean, we don't like Bryan De La Cruz. We never did, but Bryan De La Cruz could next year go out and hit 30 homers. Like he's capable of doing it. And then you're like, oh man, well, that was a stupid decision. So it's going to be interesting to just see what happens to Bryan De La Cruz going forward and seeing, okay, was this the right decision or not?
No,
but
it's not.
Based off of what he did last season, like you could not bring him back for that money when you could go out there and get better production for the same. You just couldn't do it.
Right. Or like, as we've all been saying, it's not even so much that you can get better production for that money. It's you can use that money allocated towards something that is better. It's going to cost more. So 100% okay with all of the moves. With Hunter Stratton, he's intriguing. He's someone I would want to have around. He's not going to be there pretty much like you said all season. That injury was nasty last year. But that's a guy who it's like, I want him to be a Pittsburgh Pirate. So I like that, they're entertaining to bring him back. But it's not like it's the end of the world if Hunter Stratton's not a Pittsburgh Pirate. Right. So that's where it is. I mean, kind of like Nick Birdie. Different though. Like Nick Birdie had some nasty ass stuff. You really want him to be a Pirate. I still like him to this day. I'm still rooting for the Yankees. And then he comes back to the Yankees and just gets injured again. But yeah, I guess I'm just with everything like you mentioned. I guess less of like this could be bad about the Bryan De La Cruz stuff, but maybe that's just my ego getting away also because I've just never, ever, ever believed in Bryan De La Cruz, and here we are today. So, yeah. Either way, like now it's official, it's behind us. We know that the Pirates, are moving on without them. And again, like I think with the Connor Joe, as I alluded to a little bit, we have it before. Like he's a good baseball player for what he is, in the role that he should be in for another team, he's going to succeed in and do well in. It's just like, fortunately or unfortunately, I guess for the Pirates, I mean, they have a Billy Cook who's cheaper, who you think could probably slide in. And maybe, again, there's risk there. He might not have as good as a bat as Connor Joe, but the defense is certainly there. He has the potential to have the bat or better than Connor Joe, and he's cheaper. And again, this isn't just so much like, oh, he's cheaper, so that's the move. It's he's cheaper, so now you can allocate the funds you're going to give to a backup in Connor Joe towards a starter that you need to get. So instead of having, and I'm throwing a number out there, but like instead of having $8 million to throw at a starter, you have 11 million or 12 million to throw at somebody. So again, like that's the idea of this, and why I'm okay with it. So again, like you freed up some room here on this payroll to allocate those funds towards guys that need to be good and starters, not backups.
Yeah, I mean, this like you mentioned, this isn't a Pirates are cheap, so let's non-tender Connor Joe. Like, this is a baseball move. When you have Billy Cook, who, from everything that we're seeing, is basically just Connor Joe. Like that, he can do all the same things. You're right. The bat is definitely not as sure of a thing. Like Connor Joe, you at least know what you're gonna get on the offensive side of the ball. Billy Cook, a little bit more of an unknown. But based off what we've seen from AAA numbers and what we saw last year, you should be able to get almost exact same type of Connor Joe production out of Billy Cook.
Right.
And when you can, when Connor Joe's going to make $3.5 million next year, and Billy Cook's going to make $750,000. Hey, that's $2.5 million that you can allocate somewhere else to improve the team. You throw that on top of the $4 million that Bryan De La Cruz was going to make, and you just freed up about $7 million, by doing this. 7.75 if you want to count Stratton as well. So this is really just, hey, let's free up $7 to $8 million in payroll. We're not really losing any sort of production here because we think we can get the same sort of Connor Joe production out of Billy Cook, and then let's take those funds and use it towards a starting outfielder, which this
Juan
team
Soto.
needs. Right? Yeah, throw it at Juan Soto. But I think the
$200 million.
The Connor Joe non-tender was the easiest thing to see coming. I don't think there was a single person on earth who would have predicted him getting tendered a contract. But Bryan De La Cruz was definitely 50-50. I think you put that poll out on Friday. When you put your poll out, what was the Bryan De La Cruz yes or no? Like it wasn't that wide of a gap.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't remember.
I know when I voted on it, it was exactly when I voted on your poll. It was on Twitter. It was exactly 50-50. So like half the people thought they were going to do it, half people didn't.
Yeah, and it was. So do the Pirates tender a contract to Connor Joe? 74.7% said no. So again, right, what we're talking about. Do they tender a contract to Bryan De La Cruz? 56% said no. So It was pretty split.
Yeah. So almost half of the people thought they were gonna bring him back. So I think it's the right move. We'll find out. I mean, as long as they use that money and they go out and they get a productive bat, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I'm with you. Absolutely with you. I felt like I was just gonna say something too, and then you asked me about the poll. but either way, no big deal. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, we'll move forward. So that's the Pirates moves, right? That's what we know what they're going to do. That's how they're moving forward. What I think a lot of people find interesting as well is like what other teams do. Like what other players were non-tendered and now have become a free agent that you weren't maybe anticipating. Right? We go over like 2025 free agents and who can the Pirates sign, and now there's more because other teams didn't. So just kind of going around the league and such. Were there any names that stood out to you that were, non-tender, just in general? Doesn't even have to be because of, the Pirates. And then are there any that stood out to you because, like, hey, Pirates, that's a guy you should go after?
I mean, the two biggest names I'd say who got non-tendered were Kyle Finnegan, who was the Nationals, who made the All-Star team last year as the Nationals closer, and then another closer, Jordan Romano out of the Blue Jays. Those are probably the two biggest names that got non-tendered. Finnegan had a good year last year, but he was going to make around, like, I think he was projected to make around like $8 million or so this season.
Yeah,
and
yep.
Do you pay a reliever who, it was a good season, 3.68 ERA, 38 saves, but is that the type of production you want to get from somebody who you're giving $8 million to. I don't know. But Kyle Finnegan, he's been the Nationals reliever the last 2 seasons, closed some games in 21, 22 as well. Has had a really good career so far. Like, he's going to go out there and somebody's going to give him a multi-year deal. It may not be $8 million a year, but like I could see somebody going out there and giving Kyle Finnegan 2 years, $12 million, something like that. Like he's kind of proven over the course of his career he's an effective reliever. And he's got closer experience if you're looking for something like that. And if you're the Pirates and you're even looking for somebody who can maybe be I know we're getting this to the later in the show, but if you're looking for someone with closer experience who can kind of be a plan B to Bednar if you need it, Kyle Finnegan's not a terrible option. You could have worse options, and he's not going to be too expensive, I don't think. So Finnegan, and then along those same lines, like Jordan Romano. I think Jordan Romano was supposed to make Jordan Romano was projected to make about the same, $7.75 million. He got injured this past season, so it just didn't really put up a lot. And when he did come back, he wasn't very effective. But 2-time All-Star, 2022, 2023, closer experience, has proven over the course of his career he's effective. So another guy where if you want that backup plan to Bednar, another guy on the market who wasn't going to be. Those 2 names struck out. Those 2 names stick out the most to me as far as, I mean, they're former All-Stars getting out
Right. I'm 100% with you. Those are the first 2 names that stood out to me as well. And I feel like it's Kyle Finnegan's the safe one. The low floor, low ceiling. I guess low ceiling, I should say, right? Like, it's safe, but he's standard. He's good. Jordan Romano is very intriguing for all the reasons you mentioned. Like, the injury is why he really didn't play last year, but this is a guy who's been good. He's been good for Toronto. And let's think about some things. Jordan Romano comes from Toronto, and he was there when Ben Cherington was there as well. All throughout the minors, debuted in 2019. So Ben Cherington knows him. He's a Toronto guy. We've seen those ties to Toronto. Do you know what else he has, Jim?
What else does he have?
Are you on his Baseball Savant page by chance?
I'm not.
Well, you are correct. He throws a four seam, he throws a slider. But that's not even where I'm going with this. Guess what his extension is? 100 percentile. 100 percentile. Four seam, slider, Toronto. Coming with a bargain potentially because of the injury last year. I again, this isn't me like, oh, like the Pirates could be all of it. I have no idea if they're going to, but I see a lot of writings on the wall with like, this is a guy that I feel like the Pirates would target just on multiple reasons, right? For those, like, this is the guy that's like, they look and say, you know what, this fits us. Do we want him? Jordan Romano is very intriguing to me. And like you talk about for like the Finnegan, same thing. Like, he has closer experience. That's your 1A, 1B with him and Bednar and such. If he's healthy and comes back, I'm really intrigued about Jordan Romano. I wonder what it would take to get him.
Well, Romano is one of those guys because of the injury last year and how ineffective he was when he came back. Probably a guy you can get to sign one of those like 1 year, bounce back, prove it type deals before you hit free agency again.
Yep.
And you could, I wouldn't imagine it would take too much to get Jordan Romano. Finnegan, on the other hand, I could see going out there looking for some sort of multi-year deal. I don't think anybody's given Romano multiple years at this point, but like Finnegan, like I think a team would be comfortable giving Kyle Finnegan a 2 or 3 year deal. But also, like, do you really need either of these guys? You just acquired Peter Strzelecki.
I hate you.
That was another. We did talk about that move, but yeah.
I guess you're right. There actually was some Pirates news per se. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Which is whatever. Again, I know a lot of people that this time of the year, and I get it. Again, I get it. The Pirates have done it to themselves. But every team makes all these kinds of moves. It's just a depth piece. It just, but when other teams are having conversations about Juan Soto, and that's the conversation you get to have. I get it. But yes, every team is doing this stuff. It's a whatever. It's a whatever move. Now back to the back to the other guys. Yes, the Pirates could use this. Yeah, those two names. Again, I'm not saying the Pirates will. I'm not saying it's gonna end the world if they don't, but those are definitely two names that certainly intrigue me. But there's a lot more. I'll tell you what.
There's
I'll go
definitely
through
more.
this
Yeah,
list,
there's more.
and it's again like they would all be those air quotes pirate type moves, but again, all that's how you build a bullpen, as we've talked time and time again, especially Tyler stamping it. Like, this is how you build a bullpen. These type of guys that have been cast offs that you're looking at now and saying, well, that's just the Pirates being cheap. This is where you identify something, you target it, and you bring it out, and you build that bullpen for cheap. It becomes a very, very good, successful bullpen. This is where that money's made. And that's what I'm saying, that there's some real intriguing names to me. One of them not being Dylan Carlson, by the way, Josh Ruga. Yes, he was non-tendered by Tampa. He's awful. He is just awful.
Here's
I'll say
another
this.
one. Also not intrigued by Austin Hayes either.
I am to a certain level. If he was better defensively, I'd be more intrigued. That's just where I'm at with it. But he's a guy who, he's been productive last year. Not so much.
Yeah, there are other outfielders who I feel a little bit better than both of those guys that were non-tendered. There's at least one. Actually, there's two. Before we get to these guys, though, let me tell you about Chris Gates. He's sponsoring the show today. Today's episode sponsored by Chris Gates Fitness and his online fitness training camp. He is a huge Pittsburgh sports fan, huge Pitt fan, by the way, too. So, shout out, Chris. Longtime supporter of the show, and his training camp membership program is perfect for you if you have health and fitness goals. And what's cool is that starting today, Monday, November 25th, through Monday, December 2nd, Chris is running a massive Black Friday sale where you can get 80% off your first month. Let me tell you a little bit more about the program. When you join training camp, you'll get access to brand new workout plans every month, so you can take all the guesswork out of your exercise plan. You'll also get access to weekly coaching calls with Chris and the private training camp community group, where you can get all your questions answered and receive guided support every step of the way. You also get access to exclusive courses about health and fitness, so you can build your knowledge base and know exactly what to do and when to do it to make progress. And most importantly, you'll join a community full of people there to support you every step of the way, so you never feel alone in your journey. Not to mention, Chris hosts challenges in the group every month to help push you to make progress and develop healthy habits. For instance, training camp members have been doing weekly football pick'ems all season, in addition to challenges centered around training and nutrition. So far, winners have received hundreds of dollars in free supplements, free treadmills, and other home gym equipment, $150 Amazon gift cards. And in December, they'll also be hosting bracket polls for college football playoffs and NFL playoffs, with huge prizes going to the winners. So use code NS9 between November 25th today and December 2nd to sign up for just $10. That's 80% off the monthly price. Head over to chrisgatesfitness.com/training camp to learn more and sign up today. Now is a great time to get a head start on your fitness goals for 2025 and let Chris and the training camp community help you navigate the holiday season successfully.
There it is. It is Thanksgiving week.
It is.
That's crazy.
Yep.
But
all right.
Anyways, yeah.
Who
Chris
did you
Gates
want to
will
talk
be
about?
needed. Well, I guess like another one, like specifically right now, just like a lot of names. So you talk about outfielders. Let's just start there. Like, what outfielders did intrigue you?
Probably the one that intrigues me the most is kind of a guy that I feel like we've talked about this guy for years now, about a potential either trade target, but Ramon Laureano was non-tendered by the Braves. Right-handed, power bat, pretty decent. I mean, decent arm defensively. He would. I think he fits a mold, especially if you're looking for some sort of like platoon out there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Ramon Laureano fits the mold. And then along the same lines, like not maybe an everyday guy, but someone who could be who he's a good role player. The Cubs non-tendered Mike Tauchman, kind of a similar deal. He's a lefty bat, and we all know Talk. I feel like Tauchman torched the Pirates for a couple seasons now, but I mean, I could see you putting a platoon together with either of those guys if you wanted to go that route for one of those positions. So Tauchman, Laureano, probably the two guys that stood out to me. Both of them, above average hitters, different sides of the plate, some pop. They can play multiple positions. Tauchman's played all over the outfield. So yeah, I think those are the two outfielders that I saw where it's like I could see these guys being useful,
Yeah. Definitely not disagreeing with you on that. I just looked because it's what you said. He actually, I mean, for his career, it could have been recent, like you mentioned, but for his career, he has been awful against the Pirates and even more
Tauchman
awful
has.
at PNC.
I
Yeah.
feel like Tauchman like crushed us, like either maybe it was just like for a one series or something.
So I was going to say it could be something like more
Yeah.
recent in that sense, but he has a 592 OPS at PNC Park.
Okay.
And against the Pirates in general, he has a 629. So
maybe there was just a really short period of time we just couldn't get him out. I was
waiting to see something astronomical and be like, yep, that sounds about right.
I want to say there was a stretch there where like Mike Tauchman got on base against us like 10 times in a row.
Probably. I don't doubt that. It's just apparently outside of that stretch, he just never ever did it.
Yeah. But I mean, a very like he's a major league hitter. Like he's a major league outfielder, maybe not somebody you want to give 600 plate appearances to, but he's useful.
Yep. Don't disagree. Those are definitely two names that I'm with you on. Like I said, Austin Hayes was something I looked into as well. Like he was a solid player. Like none of these guys are looking at like your everyday player. This is someone it's like you're gonna bring in like a platoon, a fourth outfielder type, because you lost De La Cruz and Connor Joe and such. And yeah, it's like, I don't know. I want to go another route here. And this isn't also just to say like, oh, Pirates do this, but just something intriguing name wise, like name recognition. You talk about someone you've talked about for a long time, and I felt like you've talked about this guy for a while, prospect wise, and also tied to the Pirates in a sense years ago, like Jordan Adams, gone from the Angels. He's been awful though. Brennan Davis. That's something that's kind of intriguing to me because injuries has just completely derailed his career. I mean, it seems like every year has like a major injury, but when he's been playing, he's been productive in the minors. He's gonna be 25 years old though. Never reached the majors. But like the talent is kind of there.
Yeah. There's
again,
a few...
I don't foresee the Pirates landing him.
Yeah,
like,
there were
move,
a few former top prospect type guys that were non-tendered. Josh brought up in the comments, Dylan Carlson, was one of those, but I mean, Carlson's just been awful for a couple years now.
Worse and worse every year.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're talking about like former prospects, Brennan Davis for sure. I mean, he was a can't miss like in Baseball America had Brennan Davis as the number 16 prospect in baseball at one point. And that was just 2 years ago. That was 2022. It's been hurt. He came back last year and hit the ball in AAA. So like you think that there's still like it's not like he sucked. Like he didn't suck. He was just he couldn't play. He couldn't get on the field. So Brennan Davis is certainly an interesting option. Does Brennan Davis have? I mean, I would imagine he's got. Is he out of options? He's got one more option left. So, yeah, I mean that's an interesting target if you want to at least just take a chance on him. I think I would be willing to at least give up a 40-man spot for Brennan Davis at this point.
You've jokingly said there's so many that you give up. Like to me, he's worth that potential.
Yeah, I'm with you there. On top of that, some other former top prospects, Alex Ramirez was the number 92 prospect in baseball in 2023. He got non-tendered. George Valera was the number 68 prospect in baseball at one point. He got non-tendered. The difference between Davis and those two, Davis was derailed from injuries. Alex Ramirez just couldn't hit the ball once he got to
Right.
high A ball, basically, or double A. George Valera, same thing, kind of teetered out once he hit triple A. He was great through double A, but then once he got to triple A, just kind of started sputtering. But those are three names that definitely, when I saw them, I was like, I know those guys. They
Yeah.
those are former top prospects. But they all just kind of flamed out in the upper levels. But Davis, I would say for sure most interesting, because when he's been healthy, he's been good. It's just a matter of the health. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I said, I put out Jordan Adams there because I felt like that was a trade target. I felt like years ago with the like Brian Reynolds or something. It was always, the Angels and Pirates were lining up. It's like, let's go get Jordan Adams. And man, he's been awful.
Yeah, I have no interest in Jordan Adams.
No, but like I said, like Brendan Davis.
Yeah.
I know this is the year you're going for it, and this is like, this isn't we got Brendan Davis. We're a playoff team now, but this is an intriguing person. But no, I guess like when I really look down to it too, it's really pitching. It's a lot of pitchers in here that kind of intrigue me. The only other hitter, I'll end it with this. If there's more hitters that for you as well, John Birdie. He, this is a guy who's played. I mean, this is almost like IKF mini, if that makes sense. I think if he plays more positions and probably better at this point in the time, that maybe he's going to be 35. That's one thing. But John Birdie, like I almost feel like if you like the idea of IKF, but you don't want to pay IKF money, that's maybe something you can go after.
Along those same lines, defense. I was thinking more Josh Rojas.
Okay, there you go.
And the thing with Rojas too is like Rojas has put up back to back to back to back, like 1+ WAR seasons. Like Josh Rojas, 2021 1.8 WAR, 2022 2.5, 2023 1.0, 2024 1.9. That's 7.2 WAR over the last 4 seasons for Josh Rojas. And he's kind of the same type of player. Can play him kind of all around. Can't really play him at shortstop anymore. So that's maybe your difference. But he's been very useful too as a utility player.
Also comes with an option. Apparently.
I don't think you'd use it, but yeah.
But yeah, that's a good one. Not so much like the offense doesn't hurt you, at least for the past few years. Defensive minded for sure. Very good defensively. So yeah, that's an option as well for sure. So I guess Josh Rojas and Birdie a little bit.
Yep. But yeah, Birdie
super utility
along
type
those same
roles.
lines. Yeah.
So then it really getting like comes down to pitching for me and a lot of relievers. Like I know there's Patrick Sandoval out there, but he's not going to be healthy this year. That's something like you're picking up now, trying maybe like a 2-year instead of later one. What relievers out there other than the two that we talked about?
Yeah, so I feel like there's a bunch of those relievers out there who you could make a play for. We already talked about Finnegan. We already talked about Romano. But on top of that, the Orioles non-tender Jacob Webb, right-hander. If you're looking for a lefty out of the bullpen, Colin Poche out of Tampa Bay. He's put together, pretty good career. ERAs typically below 4.
Although Tampa Bay moved on from him, so now I'm worried.
Tampa Bay moved on from him, but that's because he was set to make $3 million, and Tampa Bay doesn't do that. So Tampa Bay actually non-tendered 3 lefties: Poche, Tyler Alexander, and Richard Lovelady. I think Alexander is interesting in that he can start too, like if you need him to. But all 3 of those guys non-tendered. I think Poche probably the one that I'm most interested in out of those guys. Yeah, I mean Hobie Milner, another guy. that's about it, I guess.
Okay. I'll
I
say
may be
this,
missing someone.
staying with the Nationals as well. Tanner Rainey intrigues me also.
Good stuff. Can't stay
Really,
healthy.
really good stuff. Can't throw for many strikes.
Mm.
That's part of it. But again, like that's you identify this, you're able to do it. I mean, this team has turned around other players, right? The stuff he has, they love like his fastball, his slider, that combo. Like that stuff is kind of nasty.
I
You just
I
can't
don't think
really throw
Tanner
strikes.
Rainey gets a major league deal, but that's me.
That could be fair. I mean,
Yeah.
because again, like at relievers, there's a lot of them.
Mhm.
But like I think that's certainly I wouldn't mind entertaining Tanner Rainey by any chance. Tanner Rainey was one of them.
There was another one I missed too, but I'll go after you.
What's that?
So there's another guy that I missed. I forgot to say,
Go
but I'll
ahead.
go after you.
Go ahead.
Oh, Alex Young.
Oh, okay.
We probably if you know Alex Young, you know him from his time with the Reds, but another lefty reliever who has been very effective for 3 seasons now. Was injured a bit in 2024, but was pretty reliable for the Reds in 2023. I feel like we saw him a lot. But if you're looking for a lefty reliever, there's another guy who's available.
There it is. Yeah. Like I think we're pretty much hitting every player I was looking into, having interest in. Like I said, Tanner Rainey was certainly one for me as well because of the stuff. If you can like hone that in, there's other guys that are out there that like I think there's like connections with. Kyle Contrail we talked about last year. Even he's DFA'd again. He had like a productive year for the Rockies per se. I had some interest in him last year. This year, I think even much less, even though he was like productive. But this stuff isn't there. They don't need a starter. Like last year, they needed like depth. I felt like Gavin Sheets is a name that's been brought up too, just because of the first base outfield. I'm just stay away mode from that. I know
Yeah,
like
I
the
mean,
intrigue. They talk about like prospects back in the day. Like he's now 29 years old going to be. Like back in the
yeah.
day, certainly, but he's been nothing but awful.
Yeah, I mean, he plays a
So
position that you need, right, which is first base, and right field, but he's really bad.
yeah,
So it's like, yeah, you need a first baseman and a right fielder, but there's no like don't get a bad one. And that's
right.
what Gavin Sheets is at this point.
Yep. And like Brendan Rodgers, also like another name. Like he was a top prospect back in the day. Just not good. You know what's weird about him? I was looking into him because I thought like he can play around the diamond, and I know like there's still like the potential of the bat, but he's good defensively. And I looked and he's not. You know what's crazy? He had that 1 year, 2 years ago, he had 22 defensive runs saved at second base.
Mhm.
22. He's been negative every year outside of that. Just so crazy.
I think more than anything, that just shows you that like defensive metrics are they're still not like 100% dialed in.
Still crazy.
Yeah.
That just blew my mind. I was like, oh, never mind. He doesn't even have the defensive skill. Yeah, like I said, like outside of that, there's names here. That's what we're kind of doing right now, but they're just names. Kind of stay away from them. Like Luis Patino as well. Like no. Yeah, I guess that pretty much wraps up for me. Looking at the non-tenders.
Brett Honeywell.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was also named too. Of like, ooh, there's Honeywell, because you and I were talking about him too, like how well he's been doing in LA, and then of course then come the playoffs. But yeah, it just seemed like there was a lot of playing out of your head for him. Like he doesn't strike anybody out. The stuff really isn't there.
Yeah.
With that stupid screwball.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, a lot of these relievers are going to land somewhere. Another name we haven't said yet, Adbert Alzolay. Like he closed for the Cubs 2 years ago. Good stuff. He was non-tendered. Yeah, so a lot of these guys will land somewhere. I'm sure the Pirates will acquire at least one of these people that were non-tendered. Like they're just that's what happens, right? They're gonna
Yep.
be acquired by somebody, and whether it's a minor league deal or a major league deal, they'll land somewhere. And yeah, a bunch of people just got down tendered, so they'll go somewhere. I mean, Jordan Adams, you mentioned before, like I could see him being like this year's, I don't know, who was the Andy Chavez, type guy, where at least we can get a center fielder to play in Indianapolis, who has good defense. Like that's kind of what Jordan Adams would be.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it. I don't have any interest in seeing Jordan Adams wear a Pittsburgh Pirates jersey.
Same. Cool. Well, I think that wraps up our show today.
I think so.
So with that,
You didn't want to talk about Strzelecki at all.
let's talk about him. So he is a Pittsburgh Pirate. So that wraps up our show today. Is there anything you want to talk about him?
Slider. A slider guy who doesn't throw it a lot, and I could see the Pirates just maybe trying to get something out of him by just spamming the slider. It is a good slider. Nothing else he throws is good.
I wanted to talk, not to make this like a longer conversation, but that with Finnegan, I wanted to bring that up. Also, fastball slider guy, but like he throws a fastball like 70% of the time. Like I feel like he could be better than what he is. Maybe they just stop, because his fastball was really, really good a few years ago, and like it got crushed last year. So like that's also like we're talking about how good he is, Finnegan, right? I feel like there's some unlocked possibility with him also. Like maybe he starts spamming the slider, which is really, really good. Also, he just doesn't throw that much. Maybe there's more to Finnegan also. Yeah, I wanted to bring that up. Didn't.
There you go.
So thank you. Say, hey, there was a reason to bring him up.
But yes, Peter Strzelecki, he is a Pirate. Pirates traded cash considerations for him.
Side note here too, like when that happened, I got the DM from Bucko Mike. Strzelecki, homie. Like it's like, thank you, Bucko Mike. I should tell him. I was like, what are you talking about? Because I think I was live on the air when it happened. So, but yeah. All right. Well, then let's go ahead and get out of here. We'll see you guys later. Of course, happy Thanksgiving week. We'll be back with NS9 live this Wednesday night. I think it's going to be just Tyler and myself.
Yeah, I haven't decided yet. There's a big volleyball game on Wednesday night. Hey, now the Pitt fans are going to get mad at you if you start bashing volleyball.
That's true. Pitt, Louisville volleyball, because Pitt now is a volleyball school.
Yeah, very
Let's
much.
Get out of here. So we'll see you guys later. Appreciate y'all as always. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.